Welcome back to
Yes.
Coffee Talk. Grab your coffee. Join us for our talk today. We're Keith and Terry.
Yes.
We talk all things retirement. We talk aging. We talk all kinds of things, whatever you guys want to talk about. Today, we're going to talk about what do you do when life starts to get weird?
Very weird.
And sometimes we see ourselves totally different than other people see us. And it gets to the time in our life when you go into the doctor's office and you look at that doctor and you think, he could be my son or he could be my grandson. They're like so young.
Yes.
We tend to think of ourselves as young, even though when we look in the mirror,
Yeah.
we think, who in the world is that old person looking back at me?
I still feel like, or see myself in my mind like I'm a 35 to 40-year-old person, still can go out and jog 3 or 4 miles a day or play basketball all day or be outside working and not having it bother me at all. But then when my body starts talking to me saying, no, you're not that person, you need to slow down. You can't do the things you once, could do or want to do now. So, and you see these kids that, are 30 years old, and I'm thinking, man, they weren't even born when I was 30.
It's just crazy because mentally we're still young,
Yeah.
or we think we are. But our bodies, on the other hand,
We're still in denial, I think.
and you start to do things like I'll be stepped up on something and I'll go to jump down. I'll think, wait a minute,
No.
maybe I better not do that. Which before, you would just jump down, no big
Take
deal.
a big step and just jump. And I remember when we did our seaplane adventure and we had to jump off that plane. It's like, oh, that's easy. Till I got to that point, I said, okay, then what do? I got to jump 2 feet over. And, I had help with the two guys holding my arms and did it. But, 20 years ago, I just would have took off there, one plan to jump, easy peasy, but not now.
You just can't do what you used to do.
No.
So it's just crazy how we
Yeah.
perceive ourselves so much different than other people perceive us. I know we were at the pool with my granddaughter and we were sitting having, they were eating their lunch and she had a couple of her friends there that she saw from school. And so they were talking about school and everything. And I chimed in and I said, you know, when Grammy was in school, and my granddaughter, she rolled her eyes and she said, Grammy, you're acting like you're 100 years old. I just had to laugh because I
Yeah.
didn't want to hear a word I had to
No.
say. It's just weird how we perceive, how
Yeah.
we see ourselves as so different. Now, I remember I've always been short. I mean, from the time I was born, I've
Yeah.
always been short. Shortest one in my family. I've always been short, and I knew it in my head, but I never really felt short until I went on a field trip with our son's fifth grade class. And we were lining up, getting ready to get on the bus. And as we lined up with all these fifth graders, I was shortest one there, shorter than a fifth grader. And I looked around, and it was at that moment in my life, and I was probably in my 30s at that point,
Yep.
where I realized how short I am. I mean, I knew I was short, but it wasn't a reality.
Yeah.
It didn't really hit me and become real until that point in my life. And I'll never forget it. I mean, I looked around and it was like, I'm short. I mean, it just, and it's like, no duh, Sherlock. Of course, everybody knew I was short, but I didn't see myself as short until that moment. So it's just weird how things like that
Yeah.
happen in our life. And when we get to that point of we go to the doctor or we go to the dentist or some professional and they're way younger
Yeah.
than us and could be our kids or our
Yeah.
grandkids, it's a weird time of life.
Yeah. When you go to the doctor and the doctor's in their early 30s and it's like one of your children telling you how to do things and you're thinking, twice as old as you, and you're
I
trying
should
to
be
tell
telling you
me,
what to do.
right?
It's just a weird time of life,
Yeah.
guys. Have any of you ever experienced that where you just suddenly had a realization of something about yourself that you knew, but it didn't really become
Yeah.
real? And it's just a weird time of life
Yeah.
when you get old. And I remember when I was growing up, we had many generations in my mother's side of the family, and we got together often and everything. And then all of the older ones started dying off. And I remember my aunt, I remember just like it was yesterday. She looked at my mother and she said, "We're now the older generation." And I thought, well, that's weird. But you know what? We are just about there because my mother's still living. But once she passes,
That's it.
we are the older
Mm-hmm.
generation. I know we're
Yeah.
retired. I know we're in our 60s, but I don't feel like
Yeah, we don't want that to sink in too much that we're the older generation.
And I don't want to get to the point where I don't want to try new things or
No.
do adventurous things or because I feel like I'm too old. I don't want to do that. Now, I can't do crazy stuff, you know. I have bad knees now. So I used to roller skate a lot, but that's kind of a
Yeah.
bad thing for me to do now because if I would fall, I mean, I could hurt my knees and then I don't want any
Yeah.
kind of surgery on my
No.
so we have to use wisdom. But, you know, things like going on adventures that we do, I want to still experience those while we can
Mm-hmm.
and not think, well, I'm too old to do that. And I remember we were going to go zip lining as a family when our son worked at a zip line place. And all the family was going. And my mother, who was 78 at the time,
78.
she said, well, I want to go. And I just thought, well, I don't know, Mom. I don't know if you could do it. And I heard on the radio that a 90-year-old grandpa went ziplining. And so when I heard that, I went to my mother and I said, Mom, if you want to go ziplining, if a 90-year-old man can do it, you can do it too. And she went with us and she
Yep.
did great.
She loved it.
So don't sell yourself short. Even though, yes, we are aging. I am 68 years old. How in the world that happened, I don't know. But I don't want to not experience things and sell ourselves short. I mean, we know we're not young spring chickens anymore, but we still want to experience life and enjoy life. So let us know if you have any these kind of weird life moments.
Yep. When something just suddenly pops into your mind saying, wow, I didn't realize that. I kind of knew it, but that moment, you really realized it.
We appreciate you joining us for our coffee talk today, guys. If there's something that you would like for us to talk about in a coffee talk, let us know in the comments. We'll see you next time on Retired and Loving It. If you'd like to see more of our videos, click the video that just popped up on the screen